Well, if I had an audience, I might have just lost it because the initial stream didn't work. So, if you found the stream again, hope you're welcome to be here and looking forward to participating. Here we are, December, and today is, I've heard it referred to as Christmas Adam because it comes before Eve. And welcome to a special episode of the Open Booth podcast. This is a live Open Booth podcast, and you, the audience, if there is an audience, will be the guests. We have a question and answer time. Well, let's get started. I'm going to come on into the booth. There I am. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find this again. Because I messed myself up here. So forgive me for just a moment while I do a little housekeeping and try to find my own broadcast. So my name is Matthew Brown. I'm the host of the Open Booth, and I started this podcast about 2 years ago, and I don't know. I'm just going to pretend like everything's working great here, which is clearly not working at the moment. So again, I'm Matthew Brown, and the first question that I often get about this is, so why a booth, Matthew? Why do you have a booth? Well, I started my podcast as just kind of something, well, I'll say it this way. In 2023, I was taking a part-time job in I think it was around November of 2023. And as part of that part-time job, I worked at Chick-fil-A. And the Chick-fil-A I worked at is very close to my house. And that was a great job just to get some extra money. I worked in the evenings, closing often, which was good. Some great people who work there at Chick-fil-A, and the owner's really nice. Well, into the spring, in January, I can't remember the exact date, but they were scheduled to close the store and remodel the entire store. This was in spring or January, February of 2024. Well, when that came about, I asked because they were getting rid of all the furniture, and I asked if I could have a booth. And so they said sure. So I took this booth. You got dogs barking next door. Hopefully that's not too disturbing. I asked if I could have the booth and have a van, so they helped me get it in. I put the booth in the back of the van and took it home. Put it in the basement. Didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it. Just thought, well, it's kind of cool to have a restaurant booth. As time went by, I was thinking about the booth and how I might be able to use it. At first I thought it might be kind of a cool photography prop to take the booth like and set it, in interesting locations and have couples sit in it or doing different things like, with a booth. And then it kind of all played into, I can't remember the exact things that happened, but it was something along the lines of I started thinking about podcasts because I like to watch different podcasts. So, and I was like, well, maybe I can use the booth that I have in some forum in a podcast. Well, I thought, well, this will be something different to use the booth on a podcast. So, like, well, maybe I can use that same idea I was going to use with the photography, but take the booth and instead of the like a couple or a person sitting in the booth like still images, I could put the booth in interesting locations and then set up the cameras so that I could interview people in the booth, and then the location would actually have something to do with the story. So that's how it kind of got birthed. And it's kind of a play on words, when you go to a restaurant, it has certain restaurants get busy and so you're with your friends or you're with your spouse or loved one or whoever it is and you're like, oh, let's look for the open booth. Well, that's it. So it's the open booth. And then of course there's open booth is open to conversation, so that whoever's here in the booth with me, we can have an honest conversation and talk about things that have happened in their life and how they got to where they are. I always find those stories very interesting. It's kind of like, I think a lot of people will go through life and maybe no one will ever ask them about their story. Maybe if they're in a relationship, their significant other might ask those questions, but maybe not. Maybe in a time like this, it's all surface level and we don't get as deep. I think it's a powerful thing to ask people kind of where they come from, how they get to where they are, what are the things that affected them, and the choices they made to get where they are. My live chat thing's not working right here, so hopefully if you're there, I appreciate your joining. I did have a few questions that people have asked me. I'll answer one of them right here. So somebody put on one of my socials, they said, well, it's Christmas time now. It's December 23rd. I said, what's your favorite Christmas movie? So, I think that my favorite Christmas movie kind of changes sometimes. Probably one of my favorites is It's a Wonderful Life. And even though it is a little sappy, but I think it's one of these things, a story that, and it goes along with my business, which is created photography. I tell people that I named my business Created Photography because I wanted it to point towards God, that we're created. Again, it's kind of like I didn't know at the time, kind of like this booth, I didn't know at the time kind of what I would do. And the interesting thing is that I'm part of a lot of networking, and it gives me the opportunity when I'm in networking and things like that to say, when I started my business over I guess it's been 10 or 11 years ago. It was just called Matthew Brown Photography. Matthew R.O. Brown Photography, because that's my name, Matthew R.O. Brown. And but I felt a calling about 3 or 4 years ago now to acknowledge God in my business, because I can't do anything without God. He's the source of everything. So, but that's why I came up with the word created, and I thought that was kind of interesting word play on, because it's like God created us for purpose, and I create things. I create images and things like that tell stories. Anyway, it gives me the opportunity for networking to sometimes when I'm in a group to look around the room and say, I help you remember the name of my business, which is Created for Thee, because I believe at the center of my business, every single one of you, as I look around, has been created in the image of God, and you've been created with a purpose. I think that's true. As I've interviewed people, I've interviewed actually 12 people, but only have 11 episodes up online. One of the episodes I've never released, and I probably never will. It was, I guess you could say it was a private kind of meeting a family member that told a very heartbreaking but compelling story, but it's just not for the public yet. So maybe sometime in the future, that episode, the lost episode, will come out. So getting back to the movie question, now kind of my wife's probably her favorite is Die Hard. It's like, is that a Christmas movie? You can answer that one in the comments. But mine is probably It's a Wonderful Life. Now, I actually really like these stop motion short little videos that came out a long time, kind of like the Little Drummer Boy, things like that. I really enjoy those videos right around Christmas time now, and to be able to watch some of those is I really enjoy those videos right around. There you go. So like I have my let's see if I can. There you go. Yeah. So the stop motion ones, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Little Drummer Boy. I was watching the Little Drummer Boy the other day, and I think it's kind of fascinating that it's really like, if you watch it as an adult and looking back, it's like, it's really sad. I mean, this child that's the Little Drummer Boy in this story, his parents get killed, and he's basically like kidnapped, and it's a sad story in a lot of ways, but it goes and leads on to ultimately to the story of the Nativity. And I was at a networking meeting just the other day, and ran into somebody who's this young lady's very pregnant, and she was talking about it, and I said to her, it's like really amazing. You think about Mary traveling, by camel or donkey or whatever, traveling by, and being pregnant, and all the kind of things. You just think about all the things that today make a pregnancy easier and make a birth easier. They weren't around, it just makes me appreciate the the real hardship, the real struggle that must have gone on with Mary at that time. And then to be in an unfamiliar place when your baby's being born. Um, just so much that if you think about it, I mean, a lot of us, when we get to the story of the Nativity, you know, we approach it from like this very almost storybook kind of look at it, and we don't dive deep into it. I mean, some of the things that are the most fascinating to me, like, you know, you had these shepherds in the field, and it said that, you know, the angel came and appeared to them and spoke to them, and then it said that a heavenly host. And I always thought it was odd that, you know, when we, in our modern kind of parlance, when we see the heavenly host of angels appear, it's often portrayed by, you know, a bunch of young ladies, you know, dressed in white, maybe with some angel wings or something like that. But if you look at the text, it's actually like this army, like army of angels, like set for battle. And it's not at all how we portray it in a lot of nativities and stories that we see. And I think that that's something like, you know, again, it's the detail that's so important, the detail that in the story gets kind of changed a little bit. And you understand why, but in a way, it's like, no wonder these shepherds are scared and afraid. I mean, you have, you know, number one, they're in the middle of the field and something appears in the sky, and then all of a sudden, like this army of of the heavenly hosts is like, of course they're going to be scared. Of course they're going to be scared. It's not. I mean, and to declare what they declared, you know, it's just, you know, here's the Prince of Peace, you know, who's being born into a manger. And maybe they just had a fire somewhere to keep them warm. Yeah, it's if you think about the next time you read, maybe from Luke, one of the, you know, the Nativity, and you look at the words. Let me see if I can. I think it's just, you know. I'm going to take a minute here because I don't know who's watching, but there you go. In the same region there were shepherds in their field, keeping watch over their flocks by night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were filled with great fear. And the angel said to them, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes and laying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace among those with whom he is pleased." Yeah, so you look at that story, it's a promise of peace to those who put their trust in who that baby would grow up to be and the sacrifice that he would make. Some of the other questions that I've gotten about the booth here is when somebody's a guest on the booth, how do I find my guests for the booth? Well, honestly, it's kind of just kind of providential, I guess, a little bit. Um, the guests, well, the first guest that I had, he is a member of my church and Sunday school class, and somebody I knew, because I had to have a guinea pig. I had to have somebody who was going to be able to have patience with me as I did it the first time and work through those details. Every time was a little different. But I do a lot of networking, and I meet a lot of people in Richmond and in Virginia, and I just try to listen and pay attention and hear the story and kind of get a little bit of background. And often, here's the honest truth. A lot of times I don't even know where the story is going to go. I knew the very first person I interviewed, his name's Jason. He's the first, he was the one who went off to Afghanistan. So you look back at that first podcast, it's on the mountainside. I knew that he had served in Afghanistan. I knew that he got wounded, but I didn't know the story. I didn't know everything that he said, and I mean that in a way that's kind of exciting for me because I get to hear it for the first time, just like you get to hear it for the first time when you watch the episode. I think that somebody asked me the question the other day. They said, "Well, what's your favorite episode?" And right now, like I said, I have 12 episodes. Only 11 have been released. Probably my favorite episode is the first one because it's that, breaking new ground and doing something new. And that's something I enjoy. I enjoy all the episodes, the kind of planning and the figuring out, like the one that I shot inside Hollywood Cemetery, having to get the permissions and setting up the shot so it's interesting and compelling. And then I said, the first one was my favorite, but actually, what my favorite episode is the next one. Maybe it's that guest that I have coming up. Like it's because I want to hear that story for the first time. So the next guest, that is my favorite episode. Yeah. I've got 2 or 3. I've got a young man who's kind of a serial entrepreneur that I'm going to be hopefully having on the podcast soon. I've got another young man that's he was in the prison system. Now he works in the prison system. So that's coming up. Another. I'm trying to think. Oh, there's the young man that is immigrated from Russia to the United States, got to get him on the podcast. So yeah, if you watch this and you know someone who you've heard part of their story and you think they have a compelling story, send them this video, send them a link, text me. You can connect them to me somehow so that I can get them on the podcast. And I really hope that someone who watches the podcasts, they come away maybe learning something from somebody else's life, maybe something that they won't have to go through or in order to navigate their life a little bit better. Obviously, as a Christian, my ultimate goal is having people come into relationship with Christ and know what that really means. To be able to know that, like I know myself, that I am a person that is at the core selfish and desiring my own thing, and the only hope that I have is the hope that I've laid in Jesus, who's my Savior, that He took on all the guilt and all the sin that I couldn't take on. And that's a great thing. That's a freeing thing to know that He's done all that for me. I hope you get a lot from this podcast. And I've been able to fill in behind the scenes a little bit. Look forward to any comment in the future that anyone has who watches this in the future. I hope that and pray that you have a good Christmas and you're able to know that we celebrate this time that we have together at Christmas because of the sacrifice that was made and the wholehearted devotion to a God who loves us. If you have any other questions, you can always drop a comment down below. And Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year. And here's a little teaser. Might be coming out next year in 2026 with what I call Season 2. And Season 2 may have a look at a revisit to some of the people that I shot in Season 1 and maybe get a little bit deeper into what's happened since the first podcast that I did. That was almost 2 years ago. If you have somebody, one of the podcasts that you would love to see back on for Season 2, drop the name of the podcast or the guest or in the comments. I know a lot of you might have missed this because there was a problem I had with I don't do much live streaming. Forgive me if you're watching this after the fact. I'll try to do it again, maybe quarterly or something like that. Do a live fireside chat. It is a little frigid out here tonight, and I appreciate the chill in the air, but I appreciate the warm fire behind keeping me from just completely shivering and teeth chattering, and that probably would not make for good dialogue. Thank you for my special shout outs to a few people in my network who have said that they really enjoy watching the episodes. You know who you are, the people who watch every episode, especially a couple of those people. I appreciate it, and I hope you get something out of this episode, and I hope you keep on watching and share it with your friends and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications and all those things, you know, the social media stuff. And I really do hope the best for you, and hope for a peaceful and relaxing Christmas from the one who, Prince of Peace. God bless, and I'm going to take my drink with me. Cheers. I didn't drink it. We'll leave the booth open for the next guest at the next location.